Hi, I'm Martin Albrechtsen.
Hi guys, I'm Saido Berahino.
Hi, I'm Darren Carter.
You're listening to the Baggies Podcast, giving you the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion. Hello and welcome to the Baggies Podcast, where of course we're giving you all the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion. We are back again today with another episode for you. Hopefully you enjoyed last week's episode with special guest BBC presenter Richie Anderson, who joined us to talk all things Albion, strictly BBC, also his work with the LGBTQ plus community at West Brom Albion, and also some predictions for the rest of the season as well. So make sure you go and check that out if you haven't already. I really would recommend it. Richie was a fantastic guest, really, very lively, very bubbly and fantastic guest, just all round, to be honest. Very funny as well. So make sure you go and watch that episode and listen to it. If you're on YouTube or on your podcast provider, I'd recommend you go and give that a little listen. But today we've got another very special guest. We've got West Brom Albion women's manager Jenny Sugarman joining me on the show. We're going to be hearing from her about the FA Cup run, because of course they're into the fourth round. They play Brighton, Women's Super League side, in the next round. They've also been doing some good work in the league, so we'll be looking forward to hearing a little bit about how that's been going, and of course all of the key issues surrounding women's football and what Albion's women are doing to combat that. So make sure you listen to all of this episode, because there's some brilliant answers. Jenny was a fantastic guest, and I spoke to her early in the week. So if you're new around here, make sure you follow, subscribe on your podcast provider, leave us a nice review if you're on there, leave us a nice comment if you're on YouTube. But yeah, without further ado, let's go and catch up with Jenny Sugarman. As I said in the introduction to the show, I'm joined by Albion Women's boss, Jenny Sugarman, to chat through the season so far, including that all very exciting FA Cup run. Jenny, first of all, how are things? How are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. We've had really busy kind of first half of the season. Unfortunately, had a couple of postponements sort of pre-Christmas, so we feel like we've lost. We've not played for a while, and the game last weekend was really nice to kind of start 2023 with a win, but also just really great and some postponements before that.
Yeah, absolutely. I did see a couple of those, and I thought, they've got maybe a little bit of catching up to do in terms of games in hand and stuff. But I suppose in some ways that might be able to work in your advantage with having those opponents and getting to play those games a bit later. But Jenny, if we first of all go into sort of the season so far, heading into the season, what were kind of your expectations heading into things?
So I think we know that this season, we always knew that this season was going to be another year of building for us. We've done a lot of work behind the scenes to improve how we work across the week, whether that's our schedule, our access to different resources, and our staffing changed quite a bit over pre-season and the off-season. So as far as sort of evolving the squad as well, it's kind of an ongoing process. So I think we always knew that this season was going to be another season of laying good foundations and building to the success that we want to get to. We knew that we had a little bit of catching up to do on perhaps other teams that are more advanced, whether that's the integration at their sort of parent club and utilising facilities and resources and finances from them at their kind of main club, or whether it's just the experience of players, because we've got such a young group. So we always knew it was going to be that kind of season. We would like to be, come the end of the season, in the top half of the table and improving on last year's 8th place finish. It's not where we are at the moment, and we know that there's some reasons why we perhaps haven't hit the levels that we would like to in the league in the first half of the season. There's been some real fine margins and some real games where we didn't feel we came out with the result that we would have liked. Some decisions that perhaps didn't go our way, some performances that perhaps weren't where we would like them to have been. But one of the main things that we've added this year is a third training night, and as I was speaking to you about earlier, and the physical loading for that for players is different and is new, and it's something they have to adjust to. But also the mental side of it, when they are now training 3 nights a week as opposed to 2, that gives that is an extra night of travel for some of them that come in quite a long distance for training, and that's an extra toll on them, like I say, mentally and physically. So it's something that takes some time to adjust to, we're well aware of that, and we're hoping to see the benefits of that second half of the season. Hopefully we'll get the benefits of that extra night, but it was always going to take a little bit of adjustment. So we feel like we're in a position to kick on. We feel like we're in a position to gain more points second half of the season, and we've identified and we've looked at the key games for that. And the squad are really focused on how we make sure that we can continue with some exciting cup runs, and trying to push on in those, trying to still bring some of the young players through and give them exposure, but also get the results that we'd like second half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, the FA Cup run, you touched on it there, so I'm going to have to dive in with that. But obviously, you beat Liverpool Feds last time out, and it's consecutive fourth round appearances for the girls, 2 years in a row that you've reached the FA Cup fourth round. How big of a priority, I guess, or how exciting is the FA Cup for you and the girls?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the best competition in the world, and every year, I want us to go as far as we possibly can. And you always kind of want to get the balance between getting draws that might help you get into later rounds, but not missing out on the opportunity to play, a glamorous tie. And last year we had lots of draws against teams in lower leagues, and then got to the fifth round and played, a really competitive game against Coventry United from the Championship. And that was a game that we lost 4-2 late on, but we were well in the game and competitive, and had a penalty shout turned down and all sorts that on another day could have meant we progressed even further. But we want to do well in the FA Cup, and we think we see it as a prestigious tournament. This year the prize money has increased massively on last year, and so again that's great for us to be able to bring some finances in, and perhaps be able to open up some of the things that we want to do second half of the season. But now the opportunity to go up against the Super League side is just, for staff and players, a great opportunity to test ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, Brighton, who are your opponents in the fourth round? They're a women's Super League side. For those listening who aren't aware of that, that's the top tier of women's football. That's as good as it gets in this country in terms of level. How much of an opportunity does that give yourself and the players, a chance to push themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a dream cup tie. Like you say, going up against a fully professional side who have been part of the Super League for they're well established for a number of years now. They are incredibly well backed by their club. Not just last summer or just before that, they unveiled their bespoke women's £20 million training centre, and stuff that we and other clubs dream of, to have that kind of resource and facility to be able to access. So, they're doing some fantastic stuff, and their league position, they've got ambitions of being a top 4 team, and they've made no bones about that. And their league position in the Super League doesn't reflect that currently, but that doesn't mean that they're not a good side with lots of international footballers and a brand new manager now. So we will be keeping a close eye on what they do over the next few weeks, because a new manager and some new players means that we need to keep an eye on whether there's any changes of shape and personnel and stuff in their lineup going into a huge fixture that we won't be expected to get anything from. Like 99 times out of 100, everybody will expect Brighton to win that game, and they should. But that also is what's so great about the FA Cup, is you get the odd result here and there, the odd giant killing that everyone hopes will be their day. And we'll hope that, and we'll prepare well for it, and it will be an exciting day for the players to go out there and test themselves. But like I say, the expectation is all on them, and we'll give it our best shot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned about playing Coventry last season. That was another big test for yourselves, playing above the level that you're currently at. I mean, how do you go about trying to bridge that gap when you're thinking about things kind of tactically and in terms of coaching the players readying them for that game?
Yeah, so we have to strike a balance. We have to think about personnel and shape and things that is going to try and nullify some of the opposition's strengths. We expect to spend a lot less time on the ball than we would in a league game. So we have to be prepared for that, and we have to prepare the players for the concentration levels that will be required. But we also then have to recognise and find the moments that we can potentially exploit them. And we we had moments last year in that game against Coventry. We obviously scored 2 goals and feel like we could have scored more. So we'll take some confidence from that. We played Birmingham City in pre-season, and although the scoreline was heavily in their favour, we again created chances that we could have taken. And so we'll be confident that we'll have some moments, and the game will be about moments. We'll need big performances from everybody. We'll need big performances from Clarkey in goal and our defence and everybody to work on the out of possession side of the game to really limit them. But we know that we've got players that in their moment can go and create opportunities and score goals. So, we'll prepare the players around seeing what Brighton are like, seeing what to expect from them, but also showing them where we think we can create our own opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of those players that really does sort of shine in these sorts of moments and has done, I wanted to kind of highlight is Miriam Mahmoud, and she's become a real fan's favourite, particularly this season. Of course, she scored twice in the last round against Liverpool Feds. How important has she been for you so far this season?
Yeah, Maz is a player that we've got a lot of belief in, and we've got a lot of hope for the future in as well. She's a fantastic kid, and she's had some great experience over the last couple of seasons in the first team. We had to do quite a bit of work for early season. She didn't get as many starts as perhaps she would like, or even many minutes here and there. But she's worked really, really hard on the training pitch. She spends a lot of time looking at the video and showing how she can improve herself. So she's reaping the rewards of that at the moment. I think it's 8 and 6 games goals wise at the moment. Her finishes at the weekend were excellent. 2 excellent finishes. She didn't get a host of chances, so she was really clinical in what she did, which is really pleasing to see, because in games like that are swinging either way, where there's chances at both ends, you've got to make sure you take them. And she's in a good run of form. She's feeling confident, but she's still working really hard because she knows there's lots of areas of the game that she can still improve.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you touched on kind of the squad building process of yourselves at the moment. You did lose a couple of quite key players that obviously last time we spoke, I probably won't be allowed at a West Brom Women's game after the last time I was there, which was I think it was 8 or 9-0 against Burnley at home. Yeah.
Less said about that, the better.
Yeah, I think I'm banned after that. But last time I was there, there were quite a few key players that are no longer there. I don't think Poppy Bastock played in that particular fixture, but I know that she's been so important, and you lost her before the season started. Lee Dugmore, of course, a history maker at the Hawthorns not too long ago, is another player that you've lost since. How obviously there might be a couple of more that I've missed off there, but how have you coped kind of losing those players and having to kind of bridge those with those quality replacements that you've tried to bring in?
Yeah, 2 really important positions as well. So you got your goalkeeper and your top goal scorer that we've had to replace coming into this season. And we knew that Poppy was going off to university in America. We knew that she wouldn't be with us. So we started early on our hunting out for a new goalkeeper. And Clarkie's somebody that both myself and Tom, our goalkeeper coach, have worked with before. Somebody that we know well, and we were delighted to get her in from Liverpool. She's had a fantastic experience as a professional footballer there, and we've seen some really huge saves and big moments from her this season. I know that she wants to kick on second half of the season and show what she can do and improve for the team and herself. So that was key for us. And actually, it'd be silly not to mention Kenzie as well, who's our number 2, who we brought in, who's a young goalkeeper with huge potential, and she has taken the opportunity part of a first team environment and absolutely thrived. And we've got big hopes for her moving forward as well. And she's earning her stripes as a number 2. She's adjusting to the environment. She had a concussion before Christmas, which has kept her out, and she's only just back in training. So we'll take our time with her as well. But Lee as a character and as a goal scorer, I think is irreplaceable. We utilised her in a different role to perhaps she had been used in other teams and in the past. She was always a wide player or a number 10, but actually what I really liked in her was when we used her as a centre forward, and her 20-odd goals across the season, were really hard to replace. And early on, we didn't, we weren't able to do that in the summer and get the players that we wanted over the line. So that was always going to be a challenge for us. It meant that we used Shannon Stamps a little bit differently early in the season, a bit more centrally and a bit higher up the pitch. Maz, as like I say, is now come in and is scoring goals, and Lizzie Bennett-Steele's just joined us, who we hoped to sign in the summer, but she chose to go to Wolves at the time. But she's now with us, and a couple of assists for Maz at the weekend, which is a nice little kind of connection that hopefully will develop over the season. Hopefully we'll see the goal contributions from her that we think that she can contribute. So yeah, difficult players to replace, but we've got as well some real good talent coming through in the system that, in another year or two's time we'll be hoping to see in the first team as well.
Yeah, one of those kind of things about that squad building, as you mentioned there, with prospects kind of coming through, I've noticed that you've kind of got a bit of a tendency to put faith in those younger players. Is that, how important is that to get those younger players involved and to keep giving them those all important first team minutes?
Yeah, it's important for me. It's something I've always done and something I believe in. You get certain things from young players. You get often a lot of bravery. You get often a lot of commitment. That they don't want to let you down if when you're giving them those opportunities, and they really thrive in that moment a lot of the time. I think it's important for us as a club and where we're at. We are not necessarily able to match up clubs in resource wise. So sometimes we have to give our young players opportunities. So and we're happy to do that. And they're knocking on the door in our development team, whether it's scoring goals in that league or whether it's coming into training with us as a squad and really pushing on and fighting for those chances. But I think it's great as well for recruitment for us, whether that's at the younger age groups, to recruit and retain some of the best young players when you're in such a competitive area. We're trying to compete with the likes of Villa and Blues and Wolves and Stoke and so many other teams, Boldmere in our league now, and Stourbridge doing well in the league below. And there's so many teams in and around, not just the West Midlands and the Birmingham area, but even the East Midlands teams aren't that far away for players to consider. So we have to be able to recruit and retain some of the best talent. We have to show that we will give them opportunities in the first team. And we've recently just promoted Lucy Newell from who's just turned 16 into the first team, and she's been doing fantastically and has a real bright future ahead of her. And we're proud that part of her journey is with us in our first team at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And one of those things that can kind of help in terms of not only just revenue, but also in terms of getting the backing behind the team is these days at the Hawthorns that you've had so far. You've had a couple of those, both against Derby County, coincidentally. The first game was a win. We won't talk maybe about the result for the second game, but how important are these fixtures at the Hawthorns, and what can you take from these types of experiences as a whole?
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of our plan, and as far as our integration with the main clubs goes, it's something that the club have been keen to do, and to put us on that platform and give us that opportunity. It's something that the players love and staff enjoy as well. Going out and competing at the home of the club, in a championship stadium, is exciting. I think it's good for recruitment when we're trying to recruit players to show that they will have that opportunity to play at that level, and in that moment is great. I think it's great for the connection with the fans and trying to build our fan base as a women's team as part of West Bromwich Albion, and trying to get more Albion fans down to games is difficult sometimes when we're all over the place. We've played at Rahal Lane, we've played at Hensford. Hensford is a little bit further away. Rahal Lane isn't quite the experience of a ground that we would like. So the days here for building the connection with the fans, they know, for some of them the ticket prices obviously are a lot cheaper, and for some people it's the first time as Albion fans they might actually be able to get to a game at the stadium, is to come and watch the women's team. So that's great. We're bringing a whole new crowd into the club, and but we want to connect with the core of the Albion fan base as well, and get their support behind us. So we've got 2 more games scheduled for later in the season. So we're going to be playing a small fixtures against our little rivals in Wolves in a few months' time. So I'm sure that would be an exciting one for Baggies fans. And they turned out for the 23s brilliantly in the PL2 Cup last year, and it was obviously a great experience for the players and the club on the day. So 16th of March, we'll be playing Wolves here at the Hawthorns, and then Burnley on the 16th of April towards the end of the season. So 2 great opportunities for fans to come along and see the women's team.
Yeah, absolutely. And just finally, Jenny, on that connection with the fans, what sort of a message would you have for Albion fans who are thinking of kind of coming down to the women's games, not just at the Hawthorns, but as a whole? How, what sort of a message would you give them?
Come along, get behind us, support us. We are wearing the same kit and the same badge, and we're representing the same club with a lot of pride. And what you will see from the group is heart and desire, is commitment to trying to get a result for the club. You'll see hopefully some half decent football that you can enjoy. I can't always guarantee the results at the moment, but what I can guarantee is everyone will give absolutely everything to try and get a result for the club. So just give it a try. You may not have seen women's football before. You may have seen women's football on the TV, the Super League level. Come and see what we're doing. Get behind us, because the more support that we get, the more backing that we get, the more commercial interest there is, the more resource that we get, and the more that we can then improve and take the women's team to the next level.
Well, Jenny, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me on the Baggies podcast today. Yeah, it's been great to chat to you. So thanks so much for coming.
Thanks for having me. And you are as bad as the last time your visit was to one of our games. You are always welcome.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Thanks so much once again to Jenny for joining us. I am banned from all further West Brom Albion women's games after being there for their 8-0 loss to Burnley. But yeah, great to catch up with Jenny earlier in the week. Some really insightful answers about what West Brom Albion women are up to at the moment. But yeah, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you subscribe. If you enjoyed listening to Jenny's voice, you can go and check her out on Twitter, and obviously get yourself down to a West Brom women's game, because that is obviously the main thing. That's the main thing that helps them out and gets more supporters in, gets more supporters through the door, and obviously helps them financially in terms of revenue and getting that squad building, which you mentioned was so important in this division. So yeah, make sure you get yourself down to a game soon. Of course, those 2 big games at the Hawthorns coming up this year, so make sure you get yourself down to them if you can. But yeah, that's all we've got time for on today's podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Follow, subscribe, leave us a nice review, comment, whatever you want to do to show your support for the podcast. We really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Thanks for listening.